G'day everybody, we've got Michael Shermer here today and we're going to discuss science advocacy as well as the up and coming March for Science, which is happening on the 22nd of April, and I'm helping out with the Melbourne March for Science here in Australia. Michael's in California. Yeah, Michael's an American science writer. He's been a historian of science and is the founder of the Skeptics Society, which I believe has about 55 to 60,000 members at the moment, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's make sure
All over the world.
all over the world. Yeah, so he's largely devoted his time at the Skeptics Society to investigating pseudoscientific claims and supernatural claims and things that sort of rub up against, I guess, a scientific view of the world. Shermer's been well known for engaging in debates on the topic of pseudoscience and religion and emphasizes scientific skepticism. And a famous one, I think, was with you and Sam Harris, like a while ago,
Yeah.
with Deepak Chopra. I thought that was hilarious to watch. It was very good on your part, but yeah. We met actually about 6 years ago and did an interview at a thinking conference in Melbourne on the topic of transhumanism, the singularity, and skepticism. And yeah, I guess it's interesting that more recently Sam Harris has uh, covered a lot of the AI stuff recently and has become a sort of a vocal advocate for cautionary development of artificial intelligence there. But yeah, we might cover that later. But in terms of the March for Science, to begin with, and it may not be obvious to everybody that there exists a connection, what relationship do you see between skepticism and science?
Well, I think really they're one and the same. I mean, most scientists are skeptics by nature. They doubt claims until there's evidence for it. They start with the null hypothesis that your claim is not true until proven otherwise. And skeptics have a deep interest in science. Probably if there was, if they were overlapping Venn diagrams, the part that's not overlapping on the skeptic side is the fact that we take a deep interest in a lot of these fringe, marginalized, borderlands type claims that most scientists don't have time to deal with. Sorry, I have a barking dog here. His name is Hitch. So, Hitch. Yeah, hang on, I'll throw him out. Skeptics. I mean, we deal with things like ESP and psychics and UFOs and alien abductions and these sorts of things that mainstream scientists don't have time to deal with, and or things like creationism and Holocaust denial, the anti-vaccination movement, the birthers, the truthers. These are all claims that are being made that should be challenged. The facts should be checked and evidence evaluated. But scientists don't have time to do that. So that's kind of our specialty. So it's you might think of it as a branch of science. It's like people that study alternative medicine. Most of them are doctors, but they're doctors that specialize in this because most doctors don't have time. They're just busy doing their own work and research. So, our focus is on those areas. And really, it's necessary. It's needed. It's important because most scientists don't know how to rebut these claims or respond. And when some scientists have tried to face off with creationists, for example, they don't fare well because they think all they need to know is the science, but that's not enough. You need to know what the arguments are that the creationists are making, why they make those arguments, what the context is, and how to respond to that particular argument, which is not just countering with the scientific data. It has to do with the type of argument that they're making and what they're really after there. So you have to kind of know that. And now, skepticism has been around for decades, modern skepticism, and so Skeptic Magazine that I publish and others, there's a number of skeptic magazines around the world, so and groups and conferences, and so it's a whole literature and tons of books, hundreds of books specializing in this topic. So we have a really good literature now of skepticism that I think brings value to science.
Yeah, and there's going to be a science march, and I think skeptics should come along and help support this. Now, this is happening not only in Washington, but there are groups all over the world who are getting involved. and it seems as though it's going to be quite large. In terms of like how large a science march can get, it may be the largest one yet. We'll see. Okay. Now, yes. So look, yeah, I'm just wondering, like, there's been quite a lot of controversy in the media as what counts as real facts and what counts as, I guess, knowledge that can be trusted, policies that can be trusted. So if when people are going to this March for Science, what do you think they should be sort of listening for? How can they get the most out of it? How can they make it the best possible science march?
Well, no one knows because we've never done this before. There was a Reason rally in Washington D.C. That I participated in, but that's more of an atheism type march.
Right.
This is pure science. This is not an atheism thing. Religion has nothing to do with it. We just love science, and I think it's really more instead of what actually happens at the march. Who knows? But it's the idea that there's people that are interested in that and that care about that, and passionately enough to send a signal to Washington and politicians and really everybody, that we live in the age of science. There's nothing more important than the scientific method for determining what's true. And so in an age of alternative facts and fake news stories and that sort of thing, we need science more than ever. And so we have to get past this idea of science as just guys in lab coats with beakers or particle accelerators. I mean, all of us should be reasoning scientifically. That is, it's science and reason. It's logic. It's critical thinking. It's just evaluating any claim, whether it's made by a politician, an economist, a religious leader, anybody. If it's a factual claim, then it's fair game for a skeptical evaluation by anyone. And so I would like to think, I try to portray the idea that we live in the age of science. We're all scientists in a sense, that we should all be trained on how to think scientifically.
Certainly. Alan Elder, who was one of the stars of MASH going years back, I used to watch that when I was a kid, said like science is a meticulous expression of human curiosity. So in a sense, like innately we are, I guess, quote unquote, sort of proto-scientists when we're children, sticking things in our mouth, tasting them and trying out new things in the world. It's some of the theory of science is a little bit unintuitive though. And I don't think we're natural born scientists in the extreme sense.
That's true. A couple of things. One, I have a newborn, so it's been kind of fun watching little Vinny run experiments, and this is the correct way to. Thank you. He's a super cute little guy, and. But they put stuff in their mouth, they drop things, they pick things up, they're touching things. What they're doing is the theory of Alison Gopnik, the developmental psychologist, is that they're like little scientists running experiments. Like to say, okay, if I pick this object up and drop it, what does it do? Where does it go? It's called object permanence, and they are they're little scientists. Now they also intuit the way the world works, figuring out gravity and things like that, which does not always turn out to be right. So our intuitions about the world, for example, if you go outside, it looks like the sun is rising, the sun is setting, the stars are rising, the stars are setting. You don't feel the earth move. You see the sky move. It feels like the earth is flat and stationary and everything goes around it. Well, we know that's wrong. But that's an intuitive idea. Same thing with evolution. It's not intuitive. You don't see species change. What you see is species stay the same in a human lifetime. And so it's an inferential science that you have to infer from the fossils, from DNA, and so on, that evolution happened over long stretches of time. But in terms of the way our minds work from our senses, it's counterintuitive. Same thing with most of quantum physics and a lot of the esoteric sciences. They are counterintuitive. So that does take effort and training, practice, schooling, and so on. There's a reason you should get a degree in science, because we've learned something about these things over the centuries.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yes. Well, I mean, not everybody has a degree in science. Not everybody has the, I guess, the time or the inclination to go through a degree in science, how can people without a very mature sort of scientific understanding of the world still combat things like alternate facts? How can people stand a position find a position to stand in where they're available to judge the veracity of certain facts or alternate facts?
Yeah, it's not hard. It's not difficult at all. All you have to do is ask a few probing questions like, where did you hear that? How do you know that's true? Who said that? What were their sources? Have the sources been double-checked? Have they been fact-checked? These are just really, really basic, like journalism type questions that any first-year journalism student learns. That you can't just read the newspaper and expect that that's the truth. What are the other sources? What's the source of that fact or that fact? And we better have more than one source and cross-check and fact-check and things like that. So, in fact, it's really just a matter of thinking critically in terms of asking questions, critical questions. Just like, well, that's interesting. How do you know? Where did you hear that? What's the site? Oh, I read it on the interweb. Well, most of the stuff is, not fact-checked on the interweb. Alex Jones's InfoWars, he talks about, the aliens are, running the government or whatever. It's just, down the rabbit hole you go with some of these websites, particularly the conspiratorial-minded ones. You don't have to have a degree in science to know there's something fishy going on there. You just have to ask, come on, does that really work? Does that really fit with the way we know the world works? Just basic questions like that. We call that baloney detection. Carl Sagan called it the baloney detection kit. And we've since published something along those lines called the baloney detection kit at skeptic.com. And, Carl started in his great book, Demon Haunted World, just asking questions, like kicking the tires before you buy the car. Just asking really basic questions like the ones I just said. So just start right there by challenging the authority. How do you know?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, might I ask, sometimes I think it's a bit counterproductive to get too political in some of the interviews I do, because I'm not a political scientist, but what are your views on the current state of politics in America and Britain? And do you see a promising horizon in the future? Do you think that?
Oh, I do. I'm an optimist, and despite the last year of political upheaval and everyone's all panicking and worrying, just calm down, everybody. Tranquillo. Everything's going to be okay. We've spent centuries building civil societies. No one person can destroy it all. It's not the end of the world. For all these things, artificial intelligence, terrorism, these are not existential threats. I don't think there are any, with the possible exception of nuclear weapons, anything that can destroy civilization. Just carry on in an optimistic way. We'll continue making progress. No matter who's in power, it will go on. I think there's enough checks and balances in place to keep things stable.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Well, yes, I certainly think there are a certain amount of checks and balances to keep things stable. But I can't avoid the possibility that things could go pear-shaped, and so biasing the odds of trying to achieve like the kind of futures we want is something I think is worth doing. But on that topic, we can use science in order to help us shape our understandings of how to do the most good in the world. Some people call this science philanthropy, and there's been successes in medicine in improving lives a lot over the years, and successes in other areas of science have had huge impacts. What areas of science and engineering do you think are both underfunded and underpopulated and worth throwing resources at?
Oh, I think the social sciences dealing with human problems like crime, racism, conflicts, civil wars, the kinds of things that kill people, I think should be right up there with medicine. With public health, we should have, economic public health and political public health and conflict, and peace studies. There are people that do this, but I think they're underfunded compared to, say, some of the medical professions or physics, which is all great. I don't want to take any money from anybody. Just put more money into the social sciences, particularly the psychological sciences, and that study these kinds of human problems that we still need to work on. I mean, wrote this book, The Moral Arc, about moral progress over the last 500 years. But I document there's been a lot of moral progress. We have a long ways to go. And, so we need to keep working on it and figure out what it is we've been doing that's right and do more of that, and what it is we've been doing that's wrong and do less of that. And really, that's what social scientists do for a living. They try to figure out the cause of different things that we want to study. It's not just a correlation, that maybe there's a causation there as well, and there's techniques to determine that. And so that I'd say more funding for that.
Okay. What's your view on funding basic fundamental science as opposed to applied scientific research?
Oh, I think it's both. I don't think it's fair to say one is more important than the other. I mean, most of applied research, applied science, comes out of theoretical science. You have to have the theories first. You have to have the fundamental understanding of the laws and principles of nature that you then later manipulate through applied technologies. And so you need both. That's why all the big companies, IBM, Google, Apple, they have their own research labs. They have professional scientists working there. All the pharmaceutical companies have professional scientists in their own laboratories. They know we have to make discoveries before we make products.
The effective altruism movement has sort of grown in popularity over the years. And I guess Peter Singer and Steven Pinker Peter Singer's definitely been involved. I think Steven Pinker said it was one of the world's best ideas. Have you any thoughts on the effective altruism movement?
Oh, I think it's great. I'm totally behind it. That and the animal rights movement and the application of the moral principles we've developed over the centuries, such as civil rights and civil liberties and so forth, protections for those who can't protect themselves, like animals. I think all that's important. And the current movement that Peter Singer is pushing for, and I support it. I mostly, when I make my end of the year donations, there's so many good charities, I don't know which ones I should go. I just go to his website and he has a list. These are the ones that, we've spent years studying and we think save the most lives, or, your dollar will go the farthest. And I just give my money to him, to his org.
Is this the life you can save?
Yeah, the life you can save, yep. And it's also a consciousness-raising effort, which is, the kinds of things that Gandhi did and Dr. King did, of just making people aware that we should even be thinking about those sorts of things. Like, what's the value of a life? How much money do you have to spend to save one life? Well, it depends. I mean, you're talking mosquito nets to prevent malaria. It's pretty cheap. You can, a couple of bucks goes a long ways. Vitamins, water, basic needs. That's why I very much respect the Gates Foundation. I mean, they're really going after directed problems to be solved that can be solved like within 6 months, a year, a couple of years, 10 years, 30 years, not pie in the sky stuff like we're going to build libraries for everybody. Well, that was great. Carnegie did that. The Rockefeller Foundation and all the things they've done over the last century, those are all good, but I like the idea of, let's just save some lives right now.
You mean pulling the glass out of feet that are getting harmed today instead of worrying about like in the long-term future?
Yeah, that's right. Well, I mean, both is good, but if you want some bang for your buck, that's the best way to do it. To go for that effective altruism, those kinds of moves that they make that are immediate and measurable. That's why Gates is so good at this. He's a scientist. He's a technologist. He likes to measure things. I want quantitative measurement. So if we spend, $100 million in Africa on this problem, can I see a difference next year? I want to see the graph. I want to see the pie chart. And I want to see the slice of the problem getting smaller. That kind of thing. They're projecting the end of poverty as the UN has defined it: $1.25 a day or less for extreme poverty, $2.50 a day or less for regular poverty. They're projecting the end of that. It'll be 0% by 2030. That's only 13 years from now. That's unbelievable. Thousands of years of we've always had the poor with us. And before 1900, it was about 80% of the world's population was poor, lived in poverty. Now it's about 10%. So that's a huge, huge improvement. And it's almost, I wouldn't say it's gone unnoticed, but the activists who hue and cry that things are bad and getting worse, I think it's good to have people like myself and Steven Pinker, Peter Singer, and others that are more optimistic say, hey, wait a minute, no, we have a lot of work to do, but we've come a long ways.
Absolutely, yeah. It's good to report on the achievements have been made. Unfortunately, in the news, people like to watch horror, and they seem to not necessarily like, but if it bleeds, it leads, they say.
Yes, yes.
And people are more attracted to paying attention to news snippets that have something to do with something that's wrong in the world. And it's unfortunate that people lose track of what's going right, because what's going right in the world reinforces it to work in the direction of what made what's right in the world happen. Okay, so I think people miss out on a lot when they have this constant negativity bias and selecting the type of news they want to see. Yeah. So, what do you think the most exciting and recent developments in STEM is? What do you think the most exciting news in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, or medicine, something like that?
Oh, well, I think it's definitely the application of technologies through smartphones and iPads and laptops through the internet and reversing the classroom. Essentially, you can get your classroom lectures online for free. Not just the MOOC courses or the online video recordings of professors giving lectures, which there's thousands of them now, but like the Khan Academy videos. These are short little 5-minute, 8-minute tutorials on very specific things. Through math, algebra, English, literature, history. There's thousands of them now, and I think the Gates Foundation is backing them too. That is getting beyond the idea of you have to have a brick and mortar building with kids sitting in rows like little soldiers, because in fact that the original classroom was designed in a way to impose order on children and teach them to be good citizens and soldiers and for the nation. I mean, it was really a nationalism kind of movement. And it's not that I'm against having classrooms. I'm a professor. I have a class tomorrow. I'll be lecturing for hours in a classroom with 25 students sitting there taking notes. That's fine. It's good, but it's not the only thing. You can get any kind of education you want now, right now. I can too. I take teaching company courses when I'm out riding my bike or commuting in LA traffic. I listen to lectures. They're 30 minutes. By the best professors, in the world that go to the studio at this company and record these lectures professionally, and they're great. And I take stuff on Shakespeare. I've taken courses on ancient history, and just hundreds of dozens of courses I've had that I would never have. I would never have the time. I would never have the time otherwise to just sit down and take a class. But if you're just driving, if you're out walking, hiking, working out, cycling, in my case, why not get information? And it's super cheap. It's unbelievably cheap or free.
Absolutely for free. I know, it's incredible.
Even podcasts. I'm a latecomer to doing the podcast thing as a guest, being interviewed, but also listening to them. And it turns out there are some really good podcasts that they're totally free, and they're unscripted conversations like you and I are having. They just talk, and I learned a lot from people I've either never heard of or I've heard of, and have always wanted to read their book or whatever, just didn't have time. And here he is. He's talking for the next hour and a half, or in case of like Joe Rogan, 3 hours on a particular topic. It's great. It's free. It's free. Again, one of those projections into the future. At some point, every person on the planet will have access to the internet, and virtually all knowledge will be free and immediately accessible. On a handheld device. That's going to change the world.
Yeah, I know. I mean, the more rationally and I guess informed people are, I guess the more likely it'll be that people will be able to make better informed decisions.
Hopefully.
I suspect it will be the case, but there's still a lot of ideas on the internet that don't have a lot of basis in truth. So my next question is, what ideas that some people loosely define as scientific are ready to be thrown out, retired, or put to rest? And why the hell are they still in currency, right?
Yes, well, it is a concern. So first of all, the internet's like the printing press. We don't want to ban certain sites, just like we don't want to ban books. It's a bad idea. So the new technology brings, side effects that are unwanted. In this case, non-fact checked sites that just spew. Not just spewing hate, but just false information, which in many ways even worse. I mean, the hate, the bigotry stuff, you can see it; it's obvious, and anybody that has a brain and a heart can ignore it. But the information that's not quite true, not crazy stuff like aliens are running the world as lizards living in New Mexico. I mean, no one believes that. But it's more of the stuff that I heard that whatever in some political thing, and people do believe that. So there again, we get back to the problem of baloney detection. We have to have certain critical questions that we ask before we accept things as true. And well, that's what we're here for. That's what that's what you do. That's what I do. That's we're all out there pushing back, push back, and just make people aware that you can't just believe everything you read on the internet.
Okay. Well, on the theme of being scientifically minded. In what way have you personally been updated your beliefs based on new evidence? What have you changed your mind about? It could be like something happened yonks ago or recently.
Well, both. I used to be a born-again Christian and a creationist, and I abandoned both of those beliefs when I saw the facts didn't support it. More recently, I used to always be in favor of the death penalty, mainly out of sympathy for the victims' families, but that always kind of went against my libertarian beliefs because I'm always hesitant about the state having too much power. So I was always slightly conflicted about that. Then when I was writing the Moral Arc, I really looked into the literature on, does it deter crime? No. Does it deter homicides? No, because most of these crimes and homicides are committed in acts of emotional outburst. Usually, there's some moralistic component to it. It's not a thought through rational calculation by a rational agent saying, okay, look, I can get the Rolex watch, I can steal the car, and but I might face the death penalty. There's no calculations like that anyway. And then worst of all is the corruption of the criminal justice system, and too many people have very likely been put to death and are sitting on death row who don't belong there. We know that for sure, 100%, that over 200 have been exonerated through DNA alone. These are mostly rape homicide cases where there's a rape kit still in the archives that can be tested using DNA introduced in the mid-90s, and that's changed everything. And it's come out that not only that, but also a lot of police departments and criminal justice systems are not very efficient. Not just corruption, but also relying on things like eyewitness testimony, which is not reliable. So, I'd like to err on the side of, keeping too much power from the state, the power to kill people, to the death penalty, and also I'm sympathetic to the victims' families, yes, but prison is a pretty rotten place to be, and maybe there's some satisfaction in knowing that the person that killed your loved one is at least rotting away in one of these hellholes. Maybe it would feel better if he was dead. I don't know, but there's too many problems with the death penalty. Gun control. I think we should have some gun control. Some background checks, just basic stuff that most people think is reasonable. And I used to be against those. Now I'm for those. So I've changed my mind about a lot of those things.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, and the next question would be what invention or idea do you think will change everything?
Yeah, that was one of Brockman's edge.org questions.
Absolutely.
I can't remember what my answer was now, but I think it was the scientific method, or the way of science is it's already been invented, but just keep doing more of it. Obviously, some big ones like the internet's a game changer for sure. But the problem is I don't even know what we don't know. You see, I mean, if you ask that question of Homo erectus 2 million years ago, it would be, I think, some better stone tools are going to change everything. They're not thinking, I need more bandwidth for my internet. They don't even know what they don't know, and we didn't even know about the internet. Say 25 years ago, 50 years ago, whatever. There's no such thing.
So I certainly didn't.
Yeah. So I mean, if you say, well, in 50 years, 100, I don't know. I really don't. I think one big thing would be. My next book is called Heavens on Earth. It's about the quest for immortality. So I've been reading a lot about radical life extension, cryonics.
That's an interest of mine. I don't believe in immortality, but I certainly think that radical life extension is possible in theory, in principle, but I just don't think that we have any clear signs of it happening in our lifetime. But it might happen in our lifetime, and I'm open to that, and I'm certainly all for it when it comes along. I've done a lot of interviews with Orby de Grey and a number of other people. They've got pretty concrete, predefined, like I guess, theories about, and testable theories about, like, whether this will work or not. It's interesting. So let's see.
So I mean, in terms of like what would be a breakthrough, it's not getting people to live 200 years, 500 years, whatever. I think it's getting more people to live quality lives into their 80s, 90s, and even into the hundreds. The maximum lifespan is about 125. No one's ever going to make it past that, and there's genetic reasons for that that we can't yet solve, involving the telomeres and all that. But instead of worrying about that, let's just lick certain problems like Alzheimer's, cancer, heart disease, the things that take you out or make you miserable at the end of your life, just so that you don't live from.
Right?
Yes. Instead of living from age 80 to 90 or 90 to 100, bedridden, miserable, unable to walk, that's not living. So that would be a goal, I think, for people that do that kind of research to aim for. I mean, people that I interview for my book, it's like, Shermer, don't you want to live to be 500? And my response is, look, just get me to 100 without being senile, bedridden with tubes, in my stomach, and I'm just, completely out of it. I don't want to live like that. I'm not worried about 500 years. I just want to get to 100 and have a good, healthy, happy, life.
See how you feel when you're 100, and the new generations of medicine are out and about then you can decide whether you want to continue and live. I mean, if you're miserable and sad, you may not want to continue. And I mean, that's the thing. The youthful, these youthful technologies are giving people a choice about whether they want to continue to exist or not. And I think that's interesting.
Polls on this show that most people say that they would not want to live beyond usually about 80 to 85 years. And, I think they're just not thinking this through carefully. They're thinking they're going to be bedridden or whatever. And of course, no one wants to live like that. But in fact, if you were healthy, and I said, well, you have a death sentence, you're going to die a week from tomorrow. But if you take this pill, you'll live an extra year. Would you like to do that? Oh, yeah, of course. And then so take it forward another year and make the same offer. Yeah, I'll take one more year and one more year and one more year. As long as you're healthy and reasonably happy. Of course, most people are going to opt for that. No one's going to go, nope, I'm done. Unless you're suicidal. I mean, the average healthy, happy person is not going to say, yeah, I'm done now, because of some philosophical, metaphysical notion of, we should only live as long as is normal or natural. Well, most of us, whatever that means, because most of us would have been dead long ago anyway, because there's very little natural in modern medicine. The whole point of medicine is to overcome those natural problems that, disease and just entropy, just the assaults on the body and brain that we're learning to reverse or avoid.
Have you interviewed Liz Parrish at all? No,
I don't know Liz.
Okay, well, this is something interesting. There are a number of people who are interested in, I guess, rejuvenate the telomeres in
Oh yes,
the
yes, yes,
telomerase without causing cancer. Okay.
yes,
Um,
right,
so
right.
there are some people who seem to be making some inroads, but I don't know what kind of tests need to sort of justify whether they've made any success and whether they'll take 30 years to do the tests or not. But it is interesting that there are people working on that problem, knowing that if you just do it in a haphazard way, you might end up causing diseases like forms of cancer. That's
That's right.
interesting. Yeah.
Pleiotropy. You
Oh,
breed.
the
You breed.
antagonistic
Yeah.
pleiotropy, right?
That's right. Yeah. So I have to be careful about that. But I was encouraged to see that it looks like drinking beer may be good for one's health. So maybe
Not too much.
Aubrey de Grey may be onto something there. He loves beer.
Oh, he certainly does. Yeah, he
And
loves
so
it.
do I. So hey, okay.
Well, the last joint question is, what are you most concerned about, and what are you most optimistic about with reference to STEM, science, technology, engineering, and medicine or mathematics?
Yeah, well, I guess, but more broadly, first, concerned about Islamic terrorism, and religion, fundamentalist religion in general, and Islamic terrorism in particular. I think I don't think it's an existential threat. They're not going to take over, the Western world. Nothing. That's not going to happen. But they can cause a lot of carnage, and so that's a concern. The continued reduction of nuclear weapons, I think, is important. I want to look forward more of that. In terms of STEM and just continuing to promote science, just we don't want any setbacks. This idea that political ideology or economic ideology or religious beliefs trump scientific facts. No. We have to change our beliefs to fit the facts, not vice versa. That's a deep rooted human problem. It's in our nature to want to be right, regardless of the facts, in the teeth of counter evidence. It's called cognitive dissonance. The more you commit to a particular belief and you confront facts that contradict it, you're more likely to spin doctor the facts rather than your beliefs, and that's a very human problem. Everybody does it. So I think that's an area we need more work on. And not just understanding how it works. We know how cognitive dissonance works, but what to do about it. So a lot of us are working on that now. So that's what I'm optimistic about.
Yes, and I'm optimistic about the science march. So yes, I hope
everybody
all over the world
let's do it.
Gets involved and shows the world just how interested people are in science.
Yep.
It's been fantastic having you on the show again.
Thanks, Adam. Yep, it was great.
Yes, I hope we cross paths again. Sure.
Oh, we will. When my book comes out in next January, we'll do another conversation.
Yes, thanks. Awesome.
All right.
I'll speak
Take care.
Cheers.
All right.
Bye now.
Bye-bye. Cheers.